Welcome. My name is Dr. Vanessa Brown, and I will be serving as the Humanistic Group Supervisor in the following video demonstration. This supervision session is unscripted and includes students who are already familiar with the humanistic model. While none of us have been in group supervision together, you will see them acclimate quickly when asked a self-reflective question, guiding them to the present moment. You'll notice in the video some students are earlier in their clinical training than others, which is a benefit to the scaffolding nature of supervision, where students further in their training have the opportunity to guide less experienced peers. Thus, you will see my supervisory role shift between facilitator, co-participant, and educator depending on the needs of the group. As you watch, pay attention to other humanistic values of supervision, such as the group being supervisee centered, modeling the therapeutic relationship, and growing the person of the therapist. Okay. And so we're just going to do a little check-in with everyone. And I want you to answer, what is most present for me today? Where does my attention need to be? Right?
To answer your question, today, I'm feeling a bit stressed, a little overwhelmed. I feel like there's a lot going on personally, there's a lot going on in the world, and I've been noticing that pattern with my clients as well. Seems like I'm seeing a lot of anxiety about really large, uncontrollable things, or things that maybe people feel like they don't have a lot of control over. Um, so yeah, I guess that's where I am today. Just a little bit on the stress side with a lot of things going on, but yeah, so I guess I'll throw it over to Jasmine.
Yeah, I was nodding along, Blake, because I feel like definitely feeling that as well, trying to protect my energy from a lot of bigger things. Um, and I think working with clients too, of trying to find hope with things that are kind of out of their control, or finding like what can they do in their space has been coming up a lot for a lot of my clients, and I think myself too, like figuring out what is my role, especially as I'm um, getting a little bit deeper into my doctoral program and learning a bit more about myself as a therapist, kind of figuring out what does that kind of look like for me now. Um, I will pass it to Katie.
I think not even in such a broad way, but more narrowed down in the therapy room for me specifically. I've been practicing long enough now that I've achieved this like relative confidence that I'm not, messing people up. But I think that's opened up this space for me to start asking different questions like, what is my role, right? How much responsibility is appropriate for me to take on about other people's lives and identities and happiness? And it's a difficult balance for me because I find myself often reflecting on, you know, what does a therapist do? What is the therapy space intended to achieve? And just sort of reminding myself of that over and over and not feeling incompetent and not feeling like I'm not doing enough. So these are the questions that are very present for me lately. I'll go to Catherine.
Yeah, what's present for me, I had a full day of sessions, and then I have one more this afternoon after this. And today's sessions were magical. I come back to the idea of what an honor it is to be witness to our clients' process and to kind of hold that frame for them. Even as I say, I'm getting emotional. And whew, I wasn't expecting that. Humanistic for the win. My practicum's coming to an end, and I'm feeling this like almost this like existential fear or dread or something about a story of like, oh my God, my purpose is like getting taken away from me. Yeah, that's a tender space for me today.
Yeah, allow yourself to
Shit,
sit with
I'm gonna
that.
take a minute and go get a tissue. I was not expecting
Yeah,
all that.
allow yourself to sit with that, Catherine. And while you're sitting with that and taking care of yourself, we're going to pass it over to Michelle.
Um, I I am actually feeling um bringing myself to a level of having more confidence within myself, and also um trying not to let the world around me, the people around me, within my tight circle and in my work community and the community abroad, not take those things personally, and allow them to waver myself off of my path and who I am. And I find that challenging every day, especially in my job. So that's where I'm at today. I will pass it to Tamika.
So, just listening to some of the comments about where everybody else is, I remember when I was a new therapist being so afraid. I just remember, and this was what, over 30 years ago. So, you know, I remember being, saying, thinking to myself, I am going to kill somebody because I don't know what I'm doing. But you get past that. You get past that and you do get comfortable with it. Um, but it's just something that you go through and you get over it. As you get more experience, you'll feel more confident and really know what you're doing. I remember first beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. You couldn't tell me what theory I used or what I was thinking. I couldn't tell you any of that. Now I can go into a session and know exactly what theory I'm using, what I'm drawing from, and really have a plan and a goal, with the client. But it takes time to get to that. So if you're feeling anxious, you're in the right spot. You knew. So just roll with it. It's going to pass.
Uh, I don't know when that's going to be. A lot of people like, well, you're doing all of this stuff for other people. What are you doing for yourself? I'm like, sure. Yeah, of course I am. So again, trying to find that balance and uh do what I talk to my clients about as far as self-care and things like that. Again, helping the clients navigate the world that we're living in seems to be coming up with some fears and concerns. So that's what's showing up for me.
And I'm experiencing very much some of the similar things, right? Lots of anxiety right now about, the world, the state of the world, balancing our workloads and our personal needs, right? And similarly, some of you sort of alluded to this, that our clients are experiencing these same things that we're talking about today, right? How is that showing up for your clients?
I can just share that people are feeling unsure.
Anxious or anxiety, fear.
Yeah, some increasing anxiety, which we're seeing statistically, we're noticing higher rates in the United States of anxiety. That's part of the mental health crisis they're talking about, right? More people needing services, which means, more need. And sometimes as therapists, we can feel like we're being called to fill that. But remember that we're also in that as well.
A lot of my clients are having interpersonal difficulties because of the political pull, family members or friends or, even just in the community not having the same connection that they feel like they used to have.
Yeah. Anyone specifically coming to mind? Any clients that you wanted to bring today, Katie?
Sure. I can talk about her. So I'll make up a name for her really quick. Maggie. We'll call her Maggie. So Maggie is very extroverted in the best ways. She has a very helpful heart. She really likes to bring people together and value her connections. And over the months I've been seeing her, it has continued. She continues to bring in this growing stress of this um, sort of dissonance, this pull apart that she's feeling from people she's extremely close to, such as her family, who are, from a different part of the country and have very different beliefs than her. There's this sort of gradual division happening, and she's feeling it on this really intrinsic level that is making her bring up these questions about what does real connection mean, and what is real friendship, and what is real love, if it can be, influenced or reduced by these problems. So it's been difficult to navigate.
Are other people noticing that with their clients as well?
Oh,
Some
yes.
of these relational tensions because of the politics that are happening.
Yeah, so something I've been hearing is it's almost like people are having or clients are having a hard time like knowing who they can trust. They had this sense of um like the trust that they have is in others is almost like shattered in a way in the sense that they um are never really sure what somebody thinks and they might have views that are harmful to them personally. And so it sounds like Katie, maybe for your client, there's like an incongruence going on between like she sounds very like you said, extroverted and very social, and then now it's this sense of like um who can I trust? And that might it sounds like that's bringing up a lot of anxiety for her.
Incongruence is a great word. Thank you for articulating that for me. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, can you name the incongruence, Katie?
It's very distressing to her that she feels like there are things that she just can't talk about anymore, and there are just pieces of herself that she can't communicate. Like, for example, she had a sort of significant episode in her own personal life. She went to a protest, and it got heated, and she experienced things, and ultimately it was a positive experience, and she felt proud of herself for standing up for what she believes in. But she couldn't sort of celebrate the pieces of her identity that she felt proud of in those moments. And I think, especially for her, there's just this shifting, that the incongruence is causing an a discomfort.
Or many of you said that your clients are in similar situations. What kinds of information helped you as a therapist?
I think something that I've found helpful in some cases is that finding the support group or support circle that she can express those things in um would be where I would first start. But then, yeah, like you said, like a lot of validating of like this experience is something that, is happening a lot right now. And so, yeah, like really honing in on some of the support system that she may have where she feels comfortable expressing those types of things, maybe where I would start if that fits, I think, for you. And
I was gonna say a similar thing. I kind of explain it when talking to clients of like when you're with any particular person, how do you feel when you're with them? What is your energy levels with them? Are they draining and taking a lot of energy being with them? And who are the people in your life that you can be yourself, that you can gain energy from and be authentic and comfortable with?
Is that sort of with the aim toward establishing healthy self boundaries?
Honestly, I think both. I feel like part of it is, discovering those opportunities of where you can be authentic, but also reflecting on those boundaries, especially if it's family and clients feel like, well, I do spend time with my family or I live with my family. I can't really get away from them. How can you find ways to find opportunities of
Mhm.
being able to be yourself? So those times when you can't, they don't feel as heavy or as weighted.
Yeah, I completely agree with Jasmine. And if this doesn't feel good to me, I can say no, thank you. I can say it in a very clear way. It's okay, and giving that person permission to let go. and to move on. We need each other, but sometimes it's not healthy for ourselves, and we don't know where that boundary is. Yeah,
Yeah.
simply practicing no or no thank you.
Also, coming back to what the client's goal is in your work together, and making sure that you're staying attuned to that. So, if the client's goal is, how do I detach from these people who don't share the same value system as me? The client might either say, I need to detach from that because it feels harmful to me and who I am. Or the client might say, I want to learn how to negotiate with them to help find a middle ground so that we can still be in relationship with one another. Those two goals are going to look really different in therapy.
It's almost too easy to be like, oh, well, if they're harmful people in your life, just get rid of them, right? Like if that's not our decision to make, obviously, and possibly not the right decision in any case. But I found it interesting that listening for everyone else's perspectives, that the common themes I was hearing were self-balance and self-values, in this sense of strengthening the self such that when you are in a difficult interpersonal relationship, it isn't necessarily damaging. At least for me, it feels intuitively beneficial, the idea of we can only control ourselves, we can only work on ourselves, and helping foster that in the safe space of the therapy room, to sort of like, give her some armor when she goes back
And
out.
so part of that is also assessing for ourselves what parts of our identity are getting activated here with this, right? If we're working with, if we, for example, if I also identify with the LGBT community and my client's telling me about their parent who's saying really awful things about that community, right? Then there might be a parallel process. We're both now experiencing oppression. And so I need to be aware of the ways that that's going to influence how I respond to my client. How does our identity influence a situation like this?
It's something I like to bring into the room like as soon as I can because oftentimes, I being a white straight male, I have a lot of privileges and am oftentimes viewed in a certain way. So I bring it into the room with my client, like hoping to pull out maybe some of that like potential transference that may come up there, where it's like I want our relationship to be as authentic and genuine as possible, but well at the same time acknowledging that there are these just inherent power dynamics that I want to minimize. And yeah, and then that looks different depending on the client situation, like you said.
What's coming up for me is capacity is the word that's coming to mind. I think it's a good way to summarize everything I'm going to share here. Is obviously I feel very safe and vulnerable with you guys to express my emotions, right? And I often feel that way with many of my clients. And so I'll use something like that, like, hey, I'm noticing I feel some tightness in my chest when I hear about how your parents are speaking about XYZ community, right? Are you feeling similar? What do you think that's about? And kind of just getting curious about that with them, almost modeling what that's like to be curious about my own experience. Can we increase our capacity to be with the parts of us that are not okay? And modeling that by, hey, this is what I'm noticing. This is what I'm noticing show up in my body. What are you noticing? And just using that like curiosity as a doorway into modeling how we can increase our capacity.
Yeah, and we call that's actually a form of self-disclosure that we call immediacy. Immediacy is when we're naming what the here and now is that's happening with us. In a psychoanalytic view, we might call this a countertransference. But if you think a self-disclosure might be beneficial, to name it in the session can model emotional vulnerability for the client. So there's a willingness then to work with the material. Is this client someone who can hold that and use it in a way that's going to move them towards their goals? All right, I'm noticing the time, and so I just want to wrap up our supervision portion. So